Welcome back, everybody. See what's in the background? This is a 74, I believe, Volkswagen Beetle. We have some fuel issues that we're going to take care of in this thing. So we're going to do new fuel lines, and then it's going to get some carb work done also. And then it gets to spend some time in a car museum. So that's where this bad boy's headed. This is a super clean version. Granted, it's kind of dusty. It's been sitting a while. But it's been sitting for about 8 years. So we're going to do some fuel lines and make sure it's all cleaned out and stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing up in the air, and then we'll be back. So we got this bad mamma jamma up in the air, and going over things, you can see that we have a vacuum line that is tore. That big black line up there is the fuel line, and that's the fuel pump. So we're going to replace this vacuum line, and it just comes down to here, to the diaphragm. So go ahead and do that quick. And since we don't exactly know what this thing is doing, I want to fix that vacuum line, pull that fuel line off, and I'm going to try to crank the car over to see what it's doing before I go through and replace all the fuel line in this bad boy. I'd like to see if it's actually pumping fuel or not. So what we'll do is we'll use this lovely vacuum line, replace that vacuum hose quick, put some more fuel line on here, run it into a container off to the side here, and see if that can tell us what's going on. Oh, got it stuck in the distributor. Look how old and brittle that stuff is. See if this is the right size. Yep, that stuff will work. And let me say, I freaking hate wearing glasses, but I have pink eye in both my damn eyes right now. So, I don't have a choice. But to wear glasses right now. And I really don't think this thing has a fuel line problem. I could see the fuel pump being bad, or a vacuum leak being an issue or something. But with the kind of shape that this thing's in, I just don't see it being an actual fuel line problem. This Beetle's just in too good a shape. For me to believe that it has a a problem with the metal fuel lines. Whereas these rubber fuel lines, I could see a problem with. Yeah, that thing's brittle. Okay, I got that fuel line out, and we have fuel up to that. It's probably garbage. So I have this piece of fuel line we're going to try to snake in there. This is 1/4 inch line. Not as hard as I was thinking. So now, we can put this into a clear jug and see if we have adequate flow while we're cranking the motor over. Okay, you guys are in charge of telling me whether or not I have fuel coming out of that. You see fuel, and you crank it over, holler at me. I don't think we've got anything yet. Alright, so we didn't get anything, so I'm going to assume, sorry, my arm's in the way. I'm going to assume that that fuel pump might actually be bad, and I can order one and have it here today. I just have to order it within the next couple of hours. So I'm going to go get some fuel line coming, some 1/4-inch fuel hose, and yeah, and a fuel pump. So I'll have that yet today. Okay, so we can actually test to see if the fuel line going to the carb or the pump is good. We're going to shove an air chuck in there and pressurize the tank. So I'm going to go get you set up by the motor so you can watch for fuel coming out and tell me if we got fuel. So that line right there, we should get fuel out of that, so let me know. And as you can see, we have fuel coming out, so we're good. That's kind of a cheating way to find out if you have fuel or not. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to pull that carburetor off. Alright, so we're going to take this air box lid off. Oh, that's bad. Release from the back. Screw it. We're just going to pull it off there. Sorry for the super loud heater, but I opened the garage door to vent out all of that fuel that we put on the ground. Well, I can tell you that's not good. That's not supposed to be in there. There were clips on the back. Luckily, all that stayed on this side of the filter. So, I'm going to go empty this. So we'll want to get a new air filter for that. Which, I mean, we would anyway. So this is a 1600cc engine. Back here is your fuel bowl, and these are vacuum lines. But I don't know if you can see, but we have a hole in the front that goes straight in. So that's probably one of our problems why it's running so bad. Over here's our electric choke, so we'll unplug that, and we'll pull that line off that we put on there. now I'm going to go grab, I don't know what size they are, but we'll find out. Get that one off. And pull this guy. I think that's about everything. We have 2 bolts, one here and one on the back. Then we'll pull this off and get that away from the carb. I think those are a 10 mil, and I think on the carb are a 12 or a 13. And truth be told, I'm gonna pull off this fuel pump also. Back there with the swivel. Nope. So we'll get this fuel line out of the way. But I have to go get a shallow. Okay, getting that other bolt down there is next to impossible. But I used a wobble head extension on a normal socket, 13 millimeter. And up she comes. It feels like it's still good, but I don't feel like taking that chance. So I'm going to leave that gasket on there to cover the hole where that sits, so we don't have to worry about it. One thing's for sure, these aren't exactly super easy to work on. It's such a tight, confined area. My big head's going to be in your way. I made a fun wrench because this has an AC compressor in there. It's super hard to get in there with anything, so I came in along this side and I got it out. All right. So I think the last thing we have, if my fat head gets out of the way, is that linkage right there, which is going to be next to impossible to get. There we go. This is the barrel nut for the throttle cable. That guy. And here she is. And that right there is part of our problem. That giant hole in the front. So let's take this bowl off. See how bad it is. And this actually takes the whole top of the carb off. And I just ordered a new carb. And I'll include a link to that in the description. And the fuel pump that I used, or that we will be using, I should say. So there's that. Yeah, there's a bunch of crap down in there. Now, I probably wouldn't have ordered a new carburetor, but I don't want to use a dime on that. I'm not sure if I can actually replace that a different way. And not knowing the size of the frost plug, because technically you could probably use a frost plug there, if you could find a plug the right size. And frankly, it was easier just to find a new carburetor. I found a carburetor that has great reviews from a company that I use a lot, so I just went with that and said screw it. It sounds like most of the guys that use this carb that I bought, bolt on and go. Don't have to do a whole lot of tuning to it, so that's pretty sweet. So it's supposedly set to factory settings out of the box. So we'll throw it on and see how it runs and adjust from there. So I'm just putting this back together. I don't plan on using it. Honestly, it'll probably go in the garbage. Unless one of you guys want it. Alright, so a couple days later, we got our fuel line. Our fuel pump. Extra vacuum line. And our max speeding rods carburetor. So these guys have great reviews. I use a bunch of their stuff. When I do carburetor swaps on a ton of different things like golf carts and stuff like that, I use their motors too. I haven't been steered wrong yet, so that's why I chose to go with this. And here she is. So there's a lot of reviews online about those, and the general consensus is they're basically bolt on and go. A lot of carburetors you end up having to pull off and basically rebuild because they're just full of machining goo and oil and stuff like that. These ones, apparently you don't have to do that, so I probably won't. I don't want to risk ruining one of the gaskets, so we're going to throw that on there, throw the new fuel pump on there, the new fuel line, and see what happens. So stay tuned. Alright, so on your original carburetor, take off this base plate. My bolts are size 6 Allen. I'm doing this off camera because it's still draining a little bit of gas, but pay attention to which way the angle goes. So that little line is going towards this guy. And there is a gasket down there, so we're going to grab it. Never mind, I don't need that on this one. So that's cool. So that's an adapter and we just don't need it. This one does come with the new studs and different jets also, so that's cool. That may come in handy. gonna go put this in the original box. So got a new gasket. And our studs go in there, and we'll throw our gasket on. And my surface here is actually pretty clean. I cleaned it already, so we're good to throw this on there. Right like that. Hook that choke up. And we'll hook this guy up. And then we'll grab this little cap that we took off, put it on the old one. Now we have new bolts that we're gonna try to sneak in, which this front one isn't bad, but that back one isn't exactly fun. And then we'll mess with the throttle. But I want to try to get this other bolt in, or a nut on there. Got to concentrate. Because I am doing this 100% blind, so we just get it started. And then we can spin it on there. All right. So, if you remember, I have a fun little wrench that I made. And I have even less room now. So that's not going to work, so I'm going to have to cut this guy off and have a super stubby wrench to get down here. The way the other carburetor had everything offset, it allowed me to get this wrench in there. So now that I don't have that offset anymore, I can't get this in there. Now, there are times that I buy a worthless tool and I'm like, I'm never going to use that. And this little Craftsman set just came in clutch and saved the day. So I got that back one tight, and now I'm going to use the same tool to take care of the barrel screw. As soon as I find a different Phillips, because yeah, apparently I cut that one. So we'll just put that guy back in here, because, you know, that's useful and all. So we'll grab our little barrel screw. Put him back in here. don't have enough fingers. There we go. But I don't like the way that's in there. Okay, and make sure, don't try to squeeze that too hard, because, well, you will strip that or break it. So be mindful on how much torque you're throwing down at that. Put this little guy away because I don't need him anymore today. Little projects like this unfortunately take me a lot longer than some other people because, well, I have a day job. This isn't my day job, so I can't just spend all day working on this stuff. And I actually have to go to a day job that I actually like, so I'm cutting the fuel line. And then, unlike the other ones, we're actually going to put clamps on it. So this one is the feed to the pump. I wanted to put this on before I put the distributor cap back on. Slide it on there. And put a clamp on. So this vacuum line went to the air cleaner. So it's just going to hang out. Now, let's put this cap back on here, which isn't super easy. Okay, looks like that one's in place. That's gonna be fun. Now, at one point I had a screwdriver over here. God knows where that went. Oh yeah, I know where it went. It was over that way we were playing with the carb at. There we go. That snapped in. Now, this guy goes up here. To that vacuum port. Okay. We'll pull that vacuum line off. And then this coated line goes to that. And the only reason I'm reusing that is because I don't have a line that's molded like that. So we're gonna see if it's gonna work. And frankly, we're kind of hoping it does. And it looks like it's doing okay. This line goes up to the that one goes there. Alright, friends. We probably shouldn't have put that on because I still gotta snake that fuel pump in there, but we'll see if we can make it work. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go grab the fuel pump. There's some subtle differences in the old pump versus the new pump. So I'm going to put this old pump back on because I don't know if I like the new one. Maybe I'm going to put this one back on. There we go. Now let's try to fart. Oh, darn. I dropped my nut. Okay. Go ahead and tighten these down. Using my custom-made wrench to tighten that bad mamma jamma down. Alright, so now we can go ahead and throw, I need my needle nose pliers. We can go ahead and put this feed line onto our fuel pump. And now we need a new line to the carb. So one thing I need to do is I need to get a fuel filter for this. Because that might be a good thing to have. So let's, I'd like to put it on this line right here, in between the fuel pump and the carb. So I'm going to leave this a little long, since I'll be changing it and putting a fuel filter in line. I tried finding the ones that I have, but for the life of me, I don't know where the heck they are. So I'll just have to go pick one up. I just want to put a small one right here, basically. And I might change this fitting to a 45. Because I don't know if I like that either. There's that. Pull the cover off. So, picked up a new Bosch filter. That. Alright, so let's put this on. Make sure it Get that breather on there. That guy. And that guy. That pipe. Bolt that down. Now it's cold, so I got the garage door open, but I want to be able to see all this stuff. So let's go ahead and see if she'll fire up, shall we? Never mind, my first jump pack is dead, so let's grab the other one. Jump packs are always dead. Never fails. Well, poo. I'm gonna say we don't have any fuel. So yeah, that's bone dry. It doesn't look like we're pumping any fuel, so I'm gonna go and grab some fuel. I don't even know if we have any fuel in the tank, to be honest with you. Well, how much fuel is in the tank. So I'm gonna go grab some fuel. Okay, so I don't think we have any spark. I did swap out the fuel pump. The old one just wasn't pumping, so I'm gonna go grab some sandpaper and sand that point. So we'll pull that guy off. It looks okay. All the contacts look okay. So let's get the point file in here and okay. Put that back on there. Clip this cap back on. Okay, now let's see if we have fires. I'm thinking we're getting some pretty good belt squeak there, guys. Yeah, with how shaky that belt is, I think we're squeaking a little bit, maybe glazed or something. But this thing hasn't ran in a long time, so. But she's idling really good. Take this all day long. So I'm going to let it sit here and idle for a little while, and yeah, we'll be back. All right. This thing is super clean. Man, she fires right up. So, there we go. Looks like needed a carb fuel pump and some new fuel lines and a vacuum line or two, and we're off to the races. I'm gonna let them come pick this bad boy up and on to the next one. So like, subscribe, share us, and make sure to check out some of our merch. I'm adding more stuff all the time, so yeah, let's get it. Deuces, everyone.